are you in Sydney?
I'm in Sydney, yeah. So I live in Sydney, Australia. Is my camera, everything's okay for you?
Oh, you look great. Yeah.
Sweet. In Sydney in my studio. So I live in the Northern Beaches, which is basically like I'm right next to Manly Beach. And so I have a house here with my wife and baby boy, and I built a studio in one of the kids' rooms, and it's like a room within a room. So we kind of built it up over a couple of months, and when I close the door, you can't hear anything. So it's I get to work on music whenever, which is great.
That's really nice, man. And yeah, especially with a kid too. It's nice to be close to home, but still have your own space.
I can come in here and cry and no one can hear me. It's great.
Right. You can go be the baby. Yeah.
Totally. That's it.
Oh, that's so funny, man. How's your quarantine? How are you guys doing out there?
Honestly, okay. It's depending where you live in Australia, I think the answer will be very different.
Yeah.
In Sydney, it's been all right. It's we haven't had a huge amount of cases. I think yesterday we had one case in New South Wales, and
that's good.
The state in Sydney. Melbourne's a different story. They're in complete lockdown. I was speaking to a friend there last night, so it's a very different vibe. But personally, it's been quite nice being off the road and hanging out with family, being in the studio and making music. I've made more music than I ever have in my whole career, basically because I'm just sat in this room, So I'm just, I guess, making the best of a bad situation and just doing everything I can. So when we get back out there one day, we can keep going.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. I mean, do you enjoy long studio periods like this? Not necessarily because of these circumstances, but are you a studio guy?
I am, but I've actually never had this amount of time in a studio, in one studio. It's always been a laptop on the road. So it's a new focus that I have. It feels really good. And I've bought new keyboards and stuff and new synths and kind of nerding out a bit more. I'm loving people doing their live streams, especially the Disclosure ones. And
oh, those are crazy.
It's just so amazing. For even people coming up and learning how to produce, it's just so valuable. So that give back mentality, I think is so nice.
That's been really cool. Yeah, the Disclosure one is crazy, and I also a lot of people are doing sort of demo submission, listening, feedback kind of streams. Where it's just
that's cool.
Yeah, where people just send in things they're working on or songs, and they listen to it, live and give feedback and.
So it's I've sent one in, I'm not sure if they're going to listen to mine and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has a different submission process, but I know actually the way I found out about the Disclosure stream was I was watching, I don't know if you know Kenny Beats, he does rap production stuff. Yep. And yeah, he does a beat battle kind of thing where he'll give everyone a sample and then you have a few hours to make a beat. And then he kind of ranks those and he'll have guest judges. So Disclosure came on to judge that. And
that's cool.
And people do demos.
That's the kind of stuff. There's so many different things happening that never would have, I think. Yeah. So you got to look at it that way of just you got to make lemonade, Even a friend of mine, Lyndon J, who's in a band called Farr, Farr. He came out with a song called I forget the song name, but the point is he gave the instrumental out to everyone, and everyone kind of had their own vibe on it, and they were either singers or instrumentalists, and there you got 200 submissions of people doing their own thing on this one beat, which is really cool. I found it's a really crazy time and really sad because obviously it's tragic and people losing their lives and their jobs and all that kind of stuff. But I feel very fortunate to be in a position where it's I can take this time to, figure out what my next step is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually kind of a perfect segue to something else I wanted to talk about because I didn't realize this, but just 10 minutes ago, right before we started this call, I was on your Spotify and I didn't realize, but you just released a remix today, basically.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it and I liked it a lot and it was cool, but it seemed like not a different sound, but it was an interesting evolution. It felt a little bit more underground. My impression also is that you don't do a ton of remixes. Is the music you're writing evolving, or are you experimenting with other sounds and styles right now?
Yeah, so it's a bit of everything. I find definitely remixes specifically, you can I stretch my legs on them a bit in terms of like, I'm going to just try different stuff that I've always wanted to kind of get into, or let's see if people enjoy that kind of sound from me. Remixes kind of, I think, allow you to do that. Because it's like, yes, it's a representation of me and the brand and things like that, but it's at the same time, it's like you can kind of just go wild on it.
Right.
Yeah, I really like that. I've got one more remix coming out later on this year, which is kind of on that similar vein, but a little bit different. But it's again just a different course for me. I use remixes as well to kind of just figure out new stuff for me and my sounds, because my album, my debut album Between Us, was like, it was kind of full of songs, to be honest. It wasn't dance tracks, and I want to get into that world. And I guess the remixes are a way of starting to, you know, show that light of my production.
Yeah, that's actually really, I think that's a great way to think about it. And I don't know that I've ever put it together that way for myself, of, you know, looking at remixes as an opportunity to stretch out a little bit more when it's not all on your shoulders. I mean, for you,
exactly right. That's the main thing. It's like it's like a supporting thing for the artist that you're remixing. So yeah, exactly. It's not all on you. It's not like this, holy crap, I hope people love this. It's like, oh, here's something interesting. I tried something different. Hope you enjoy it. It's not this like monumental big thing, but at the same time, it can be. I mean, look at Flume's remix of Disclosure a couple of years ago. It's probably like on a billion streams, right? So
well, and sometimes the remix can not eclipse, but it can almost become its own thing. Like there's been a million times when that
the Odessa, Something About You Odessa is huge. Yeah. So yeah, no, 100%. It can become the main thing for sure.
I mean, I think about like even on a crazy level, like the Kid Cudi Day and Night, the Crookers remix, right?
Yes.
Like if they hadn't made that remix, I don't know if Kid Cudi becomes what Kid Cudi is now, you know?
100%. Is that the
exactly? Yeah. Iconic remix.
Yeah, that's good. But I mean, so that's the thing. I think it's about, you know, when you get an opportunity to remix a song. So for me, like specifically this tune from Martin on Realm is more of that underground vibe anyway. So that's the kind of way I went with it, more dancey, darker, melodic. Right. But if I got a remix opportunity from like a Dua Lipa or something, it would be different again. Just it depends on what the song is and what the opportunity is and what I hear in my own head. I definitely tend to lean towards. Remixes for me. I don't want to just put a beat behind something and make it a little faster. It's just, for me, that's just a dub or something. I like to just get the vocal itself and then just go from there and write something completely different. So with this remix, I did that, and it's like it's just a fresh idea.
No, I dug it, man. And am I right that you don't do a ton of them, right? Ton of remixes?
No, as my manager says, like hen's teeth. It's like I've only done a couple. I think because it takes so long for me to get my own music to a point where I want to release it. So it's just I either don't have the time, or it's just like, it's just too stressful almost. So now that I'm kind of in the one spot, I've been doing a few, and I guess you create a bank of sounds that you like drum sounds that I like. So it's like a bit quicker and easier to get to the moment that you want to.
That makes sense. And for you, why does it take you a while to get your own music to a place where you want to put it out there? Are you a tinkerer? Is it that the song's never finished?
It's definitely a perfectionist.
Yeah.
There's always in the back of my head, like, is this the best version of this song? So like I guess there's been a bunch of songs where it's been like, oh, that's the version, it's just done. Yeah. Like I feel it straight away. I think I've always got to go back to that. I always love feedback. So I send it to friends that don't really listen to too much music. I send it to my manager, send it to some A&R people who also give a lot of feedback. If you start listening to a lot of people, you kind of lose your artistry. I think you lose like, well, hold on, why are you writing music? This is not for them, it's for you. So
yeah, it can be dangerous.
It's important to just listen to yourself and be like, why do I like this? I like that bit. Okay, well then work off that bit and make that the whole thing. So I've got a song coming out closer to the end of the year, and I've got like 6 or 7 versions of it. Just trying to find, what was right, because the vocal is so great and I want it to be as best, like the best version it can be. But yeah, it just takes time. So there's that of just like, what version am I going with? How am I going to pronounce certain sounds and things and all that kind of stuff. And structure's a big thing too for me. If you're ever feeling a bit weird when you're listening through it, it's just obviously not right yet. So yeah, structure's a big one for me. So that's kind of my strengths. But and then production, just like what sounds am I using? And so yeah, I think for me the less, and that's why I got these keyboards and stuff, is like I'm recording a lot of hardware. Yeah. It's just great audio. So it's just like I don't really have the opportunity too much to tinker. Yes, in the mix, but in the production phase, it's all kind of like on the knobs in front of you, get it done.
Yeah. Sometimes I like that, man. Sometimes I think I talk a lot about this show or on this show, I talk a lot about like imposing creative limitations on yourself.
Yes.
As a way to sort of spark creativity.
Yep, 100%. That's right. And it's like one thing I have in the studio is a little timekeeper. It's like a 20-minute sand timer.
Yeah.
So every morning I come in here and I just turn that and I just turn all my stuff on and just start tinkering and not really having any like goal in my head, but just record it. And if I do that every day I'm in the studio, there's like in my head bound to be in 100 there's bound to be one kind of like, oh, that sounds pretty cool, and you run from there.
That's a great idea. I mean, what is, if you think about it, what do you think your ratio is of things in those 20-minute sessions that you've ended up using?
None yet.
Okay. Nice.
I'll let you know.
Okay. Still though, I think that's a great exercise. I think anybody listening to this who wants, just some quick tricks, man, that's such a good one.
Yeah, you might find like I've found a sound that I'm like, that's a cool sound. I'm going to use that and affect that in this part of the song that I'm working on. Or
Right. Well, yeah, and maybe that's true too. Is if you start each day just doing something new. Each day you're doing something new for a little bit at the start.
Yeah,
I have to assume you'd probably get some new perspective on whatever the main thing you're working on is, right?
Yeah,
like sometimes it'll kind of accidentally unlock something else.
Totally right. Now, that was the problem for me as well. When I first started writing music, I would come in and have the same presets that I would, was working on. So it was like walking into the exact same situation every time and expecting a different result, which is just crazy, right? So this is that time to be able to, turn all the different things and just do whatever and have no consequence.
I love that, man. And I mean, talking about when you first started writing music, when was that? I mean, have you always been musical? Did you grow up playing music?
So at school, I learned a couple of different instruments. I learned piano, like jazz piano specifically. And I played saxophone, alto sax for 8 years at school. So I was always in a band or a choir or things like that. But I wasn't ever writing music until way later, and like starting was it 2012, 13.
Okay.
So I've always been musical, played guitar as well. My mum played guitar, so like I picked it up at a young age.
That's cool. What did she do?
She was a school teacher. And then, she played guitar for the kids, and she was actually a Spanish, flamenco guitar.
Oh, yeah.
She was unbelievable.
Oh, that shit is cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I could never do that. But her and her brother, my uncle, taught me to play guitar. And then, from there, it kind of like was just a part of my life. Music was a part of my life. And how I kind of got into where I am now musically and electronically is partly to do with my older brother. He, whatever he would listen to, I would listen to. So it was like, at the time, like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and then Daft Punk came along, and Chemical Brothers and Fatboy Slim, and then I kind of got into that dance world and started to DJ when I was like 16. I remember just playing on like cassettes and stuff, and being booked for 21sts, things like that. And I remember, I remember getting like $100 for a 21st going at a 16-year-old. I'm like, yes, I've made
that's
it.
Huge money when you're 16. Yeah,
it's massive. So, and then from there, it's just literally like I still didn't write music. Just DJing, playing instruments, playing in a couple of different bands, and it wasn't until like I think I got Ableton when I was in my mid-20s, and then just started from there and started building. But still, even now, I don't know what I'm doing. You just
right. Well, and that's a good place to be in, right? I think I think you always kind of want to keep yourself in the place where you feel like you don't totally know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it fresh. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, that's the other thing as well. I guess in quarantine, we've got a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to always reassess like why you're doing what you're doing and where you want to be in the future, so you can plan for it.
Right.
I've got a finance degree, and so marketing and finance and management, and so I bring that to the business side of music. Even though for me, music is nothing to do with money or making it or anything. It's purely an expression of just what I love to do, and I'm just fortunate that I can live off that. But I think it's important to plan and make sure that if you plan and understand where you want to go, you at least can try and figure that path out. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you come to any realizations in this time? If you're thinking about your own career, your own life, about, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this in 2020? What do you want to do with it looking out into the future? It's pretty scary because it's like, well, what's the end goal here? Like, do you just keep making music like a Fatboy Slim into your 50s and 60s? And do you tour? Are you trying to get to that point where you write a song that's so big you don't need to worry about money anymore? Like, What is it? I still don't know for me personally, but I know that I want to keep making music. I think that's the big thing, that it's like, okay, tick, awesome. Then the other stuff will come later. Is that the most fun part for you, making the music?
Yeah, it's just yes and no. It's, I love it because it's so difficult. And I think that most people that listen to the music, it's funny because it's like people will listen to something and just pass on it straight away or love it straight away. It's they don't know the like thousands of hours that go into creating something that you can just go, I like that. Why do you like that? It's like, well, this is the process. I've got a lot of friends not in music at all. And they've got no idea what I do, even though that I show them all this stuff. They're just like, what? So it's, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it's
no, this is great. I love this. Yeah.
But it's, the realization for me is that I want to keep writing music basically, which is good. And then looking back on my previous releases and stuff, I with this remix that came out, I just want to become, do more dance kind of stuff, more energetic stuff. So when I can tour again, I just want to feel a different energy on stage.
That's great.
It's really fun to write the music, of course, but to perform it is a whole nother kettle of fish.
Of course, yeah. And that actually, another thing I was going to ask you about is, your songs, I think you have like this signature sound, so to speak, or, you're known for, like, I think you can hear a song and know that it's your song. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting because your music, like you make like songs, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's a song that could work in just a voice and a guitar. It could work in a lot of different formats. Yeah. And so with that, like why dance music? Why do you choose to present it in that way?
Yeah, great question. And I think how I started writing music was like I wanted people to listen to it in any way. So in the morning at a cafe, when your folks are over for lunch. So it's just that kind of similar thing, or at a club at 2 a.m. So to kind of cover all grounds. And that you're right. They were songs. The reason I want to get into more dance music is I just feel like I want to, like more. I want more energy in my music, which also can be song form. So it doesn't specifically have to be more of a dancey kind of thing. But I guess also just touring and being around like lots of friends that write this style of music, and I just see the crowds just erupting and just like, oh, I want that too.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a different iteration of what I've been doing already, I think, but just a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's almost what I'm more curious about is what you had been doing already. I mean, even your early songs, like if we look at something like Permission to Love or, even something about you, some of the big songs, like that could have been just a straight up pop song, or that could have been a singer-songwriter, folksy kind of song.
Yeah.
And so for you, I guess I'm curious if you look back, was it just your brother's influence that led you to electronic music? Can you sort of point your finger at what about electronic music kind of drew you in?
I think it was like my brother, and also just what other friends and family were listening to, but also having DJ'd for like 5 or 6 years through university. So while I was at uni, instead of like a bar job, I'd be like, I'm going to start DJing. So I did that. And just the amount of music I would listen to each week kind of just, I guess, brainwashed me into that, like, this is what I enjoy, this is what I like.
Yeah.
And seeing that on the dance floor too, and seeing what people react to and why they like certain things, or there's a moment in a song, why is that good? What happens in that moment? So I really, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years of doing that kind of put me in a position where I was like, this is what I enjoy. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know why as well. It's like I'll sit down and write something, and it'll just be something in my head that just comes out automatically. I don't think too much about it. I definitely listen to a lot of different music. I don't really listen to a lot of dance music, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
a lot of dance music producers will say that, man. It's interesting.
It's funny, isn't it? It's I guess it's like, for me, like it's funny. It's like I love writing this music and I love the songs I put out, but I'm not going to listen to them. Right. I'm not going to listen to my own music, which is funny because I've heard it 1,000 times, like building it into where it is now. But yeah, I don't know. I listen to like lots of old stuff, like when I say old stuff, not too old, but like Metronomies and like old Tame Impala and things like that. I just like more chill, like indie kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what kind of DJ gigs are we talking about? These early ones, like what kind of music would you be playing there?
Well, Crooked Colors was like that was a big thing. So I there were kind of a couple of different phases of when I started DJing. There was a place called Candy's Apartment in King's Cross, and that was familiar, special. Yeah, it was special because it was like, I think like the Rufus boys used to play there. What's So Not, Alice in Wonderland, Cassian. Golden Features. So it's like a whole bunch of us came from that era, which is nice. But so we went from there, just like pretty heavy electronic, like Ed Banger style, like French electro. To then me playing in like cocktail bars. So it's like lots of like old school hip hop. And I just like so much TLC. So
nice.
But just like lots of hip hop, lots of different music mashed together. So I guess it was that kind of style as well. That's like, this can all work in the one place.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of it, right? Is maybe that gives you the idea that, you can actually combine a bunch of different ideas together. Yeah. Even if you're not thinking about that consciously. I think that for me, because I was a DJ long before I was a producer as well. And I think that's one of the advantages that people like us with that background have, is it's just sort of drawing those connections between sounds. Totally. Is kind of just something that comes naturally.
Totally. And I think that's important as well. Like if you're writing specifically like pop dance music, you can hear some different ideas come from different places. So like those different genres. And that's why I listen to it as well. Because it's like, wow, I never would have looped it like that. Or I never like would have thought to do that. And then you bring it into your world and go, geez, that works.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've gone through a period of time, maybe it's waning a little bit now, but there was a period of time where pop artists were looking to dance producers for that kind of burst of energy and those ideas, right?
Totally. Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And I think that kind of revolutionized the sound of pop for years there.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely became more dancey. Definitely like more that like deep house kind of vibe in the mainstream pop world for sure.
Yeah, or even, that for sure. But I feel like even just some random, I don't know, like when you see Skrillex producing, some just random rap song, and it's, it's not like he's making a dubstep song for a rapper, but it's, there's kind of just this weird energy of these mixing of ideas that is really, really fresh. I mean, even for you, I guess that's probably an easy way to talk about, you working with Katy Perry, right?
Yeah, that was the kind of thing. It was like they found me, Lauren, her A&R, found me through Spotify, and I just had Something About You and Just a Lover out, and they're like, we love these songs. Can you do something like this for Katy? And my manager at the time and I thought it was a joke, and we're like, what? And we just ignored the email. So like later we like, I think a week passed and they emailed again, and we're like, hold on, who is this? But it was amazing. It was just Katy and I in a studio in Santa Barbara a couple of years ago for about 2 weeks. And we wrote like 4 or 5 songs that we finished, and one of them went on the record. But yeah, it was definitely that instance of like just a clash of like, I come from this world, you come from this world, let's see what happens.
Had you done anything like that before writing with her?
Not really. I mean, I'd had my own sessions, of course. Like the closest thing, I guess, was, I don't even know if I'd written Numb with Grace yet, but it was like, just for my own music. It was, so not really, and not at that level. I was scared shitless. Like
I was going to say that would be an intimidating moment, man.
Incredibly intimidating. But she's so cool that it's like, she's just like you and me right now, just chatting. Like there's no ego, there's nothing, and she's an incredible songwriter. So she made me feel really, really chill straight away. So I met her. I
was at a wedding with her once randomly, and she had that just total sweetheart energy. Very comfortable, very sweet person.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it was amazing. It was like, again, I was so nervous, but very quickly felt calm and relaxed, and enjoyed the whole process. It was sick.
That's cool, man. And it's interesting. I was thinking about your own music too, because you started, or when you started, you were singing on most of your records, right? You were doing all of your own vocals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it was me with like Permission to Love and Embrace, and there's a couple, like that whole first EP is basically me.
Yeah, and now, I mean, if we look at the Between Us album, it's almost flipped, where it's all features and a lot less of your own voice, right? Which I feel like that's almost the reverse of what happens with a lot of producers who will start off just getting features and then eventually feel comfortable enough to sing on their own record.
Yeah, I did the opposite. I enjoyed it. I would sing for the demos because I'm writing them and I'm like, well, no one's in the studio with me. I'm just going to go for it. And then I was treating my voice in a way that was like, when I started writing that stuff, I was like heavily influenced by like James Blake, Jai Paul. So it was like really like not overproduced, but like interestingly produced vocals. So I felt like I had a mask on almost that was like not me in the limelight, in that spotlight. So that's how that came about. I do sing on one of the tracks on the record, Feelin', the interlude. But again, that's like I think there's some like vocoding and stuff I've done on that and all that kind of thing. So it's in pitching. I do sing on every track as well. I do like backing vocals and oohs and ahs and stuff. But I personally don't think I've got an amazing voice. So it's like if I sang Just Friends, like I just couldn't, it's just not the same as One Matthews. So that's partly why I just love working with people and love, again, their writing style that comes into fruition with my production. And so I'll sing again for sure on something, but But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I didn't think of it like that. It's like I started doing my stuff and then it completely flipped where
yeah. I mean, and to hear that explanation of it, that seems pretty reasonable, because that's sort of that's you taking the ego out of the equation, right? And just saying that, you know, I can do this, but maybe somebody else can do this better.
Way better. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I like that, man. I mean, going back to sort of the earlier days, like, so when you were DJing and before you really started writing music, what was that, you know, and you mentioned the King's Cross scene and Candies with, you know, all those people sort of all DJing there at the same time. What was what memories do you have? What was that vibe like? Because so many people that you named, you know, Rufus and What's So Not and Alice in Wonderland, all of them, and you and a bunch of others coming out of, you know, more or less this one club, right? Where you guys were all just running around as kids DJing. Did it feel special at the time?
Yeah, so special. Like, I'm just thinking about it now. It was like a house party. So it was like you would rock up, you'd know that all your best friends were going to be there. You had like a dance floor that was just ready for it. Everyone was excited. There were no set times really. Like there were and there weren't. Like there was like, oh, Hayden's playing 12 to 2 or whatever. But if you wanted to come up and have a track or like, you know, play for 30 minutes with me, there was so many back-to-backs and just everyone having fun. And by the end of the night, everyone was on the decks together. So yeah, it was really special. And every time we did that, it was a different amazing energy, because you'd have different people coming in at different moments, or we'd meet a new DJ and they'd come in and play some music with us. So it was really special. I think it's so different now. It's like in Sydney with the nightlife scene before COVID was just like, it was ruined by lots of government restrictions and all that stuff. So I think one day 100% there'll be a time when it gets back to that. But it was just, that there was a moment in time where we were so lucky to have that. And I'm kind of sad that kids growing up now that want to DJ and they're 18 and they can't do that. Take COVID out of the equation. It's like still in Sydney, you know, that doesn't exist at the moment. So,
well, and isn't it weird, man?
I mean,
kids coming up now, I mean, there isn't even a thought to be a DJ. It's to be a producer, right? Yeah, and well, that's DJing is kind of an afterthought.
That's right. It's funny because when I started DJing, it was all about, like, people didn't have studios and stuff. People had laptops and things, but it was like if you were writing music, you were in a big studio with a record label and things like that. So writing music, it wasn't a thing. It was like we followed DJs. And we'd follow them from club to club. Like there was an amazing guy, Ajax, who used to play in Sydney at like 3 or 4 places a night at least. And we'd all just follow his sets because he'd play at different things all the time. In these different
heard about
clubs.
Him, yeah.
Yeah, amazing guy. And so it was like, it was a very special time, and DJing was kind of like king. It was that's what you did. But I always knew in the back of my head, if you're going to make it, you got to be the person who they're playing. So it's you got to write that music.
And that shift was happening at that time, right?
Totally.
Like the producer mentality was sort of taking over. It's funny. This is very random, but I was on tour in Australia a few years back, and I happened to have an off day in Sydney on the day when they did the Candies reunion show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Were you there? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, dude, and so I got just a tiny taste of that vibe, and man, that was such a fun night.
That's so funny. Yeah, that was, it was like, it was Emo, Emo, What's So Not, Allison, Golden Features, and myself.
Right.
I'm not sure if Cassian was there. I don't think he was there. I think he was in LA. But
it was crazy. I got there super late. It was, Emma was playing when I got there, and I think we stayed for an hour or two. I don't know. It was super late, but man, it was so much fun.
Awesome. You know, I actually remember playing like, do you remember Raven?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. We played
Everyone
that,
sat down.
Yeah, so we played that, but all the kids are like, what is this new stuff? We're like, are you kidding me? This is like 10 years old.
And the classic, and that's really funny that even the anthems get forgotten that quickly.
Totally right, exactly. That's the thing about like something that's so big has that shelf life, and then no one plays it anymore because it's just peaked, you know?
Right. Yeah, I remember that night when it got played, everyone in the club sat down, and then when it dropped,
So
jumped
funny.
back up. Oh my God, dude, that was so fun.
There you go. That's funny. Well, Candies.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Candies. That was great.
I actually met my wife at Candies, one of my first DJ sets. She came with a guy who I was DJing with, not as a date, just like they met the week before, and he said, "Hey, I'm DJing with a friend. You should come down and hang out." And we met, and like that was it. I asked her out a week later, and
the
rest is history.
Love it, man. That's beautiful. The touring part of it too, I feel like for you, it must have kind of gotten serious really quickly once you dropped, Permission to Love. And then obviously once Something About You dropped, like, did it feel like you kind of got thrown into the deep end a little bit once you started getting on the road?
Yeah. Looking back now, I wouldn't change anything, but it was Permission to Love and stuff started to, like, that got me around Australia a little bit because I got a lot of support from Triple J, the radio station here in Australia. But then Something About You kind of hit more of a global level because it got signed to, I think it was Virgin in the UK, and it was actually on like a Microsoft ad and stuff. So lots more people heard about me and heard the song. And I got to, I think it was 2015, I got to go to Europe for like the summer and play all of these festivals. I played like Glastonbury, and I went to Roskilde in Copenhagen. But yeah, like so many like different festivals and clubs and stuff. So I was like, really, it was the deep end. But it was so amazing. It was an incredible time. But at the same time, looking back, it's like, oh, geez, I wish I had an album to drop right after that moment because it would have just gone like that, Yeah. I didn't realize, I think I was... I was just starting as well. So I didn't realize like what momentum could actually do. I've always been like, no, a good song's a good song no matter when you release it. Yes, that's true. But if you time it correctly, it's just all everyone can think about. So it's, you know what I mean? I mean, you can never be too prepared, right? For that kind of thing. Because then, I mean, you've seen it, I'm sure, a million times, as have I. Somebody can have a moment, hit a really big song, or a song blows up and not be prepared for it. Yeah.
And
then do this big tour, and all people want to hear is that one song. And it's like,
right. And then, and then there usually isn't a tour after that, right?
No, that's right. And that's where I guess, like, I was thinking about this before. It's especially now, like, this is a team sport. It's not about the individual. It's not about me just doing my own thing. It's like, if I didn't have the managers I have and the support staff and just all the amazing people that do all the work for me, and I'm just here writing the music, none of it would really exist, to be honest. So it's all of those key, crucial, planning stages and promotion of your music that are so important and that you've got to get right. I think was it a journey to find those people for you, or did you get lucky and find them kind of early?
No, 100%. I had a manager when I first started writing music, and we parted about 2.5 years ago. And now I'm with Luke and Steve at Red Light, and the amazing team there. And it's just kind of it's been incredible. Like the energy and emotion they bring into the role, and how we all help each other out is just infectious. I love it, and it's just so awesome to work with people that you love. So as everyone knows, of course, but
no, but it's it's important. It's important in this kind of game, man, because I think
it's about respect as well. It's just like everyone respects each other and does the right thing, and it's just a really good vibe.
Yeah, and I think it's important too because the lines get blurred in this kind of business, right? So it is the people who are handling your business and money's involved, but at the same time, it's a family as well in a career that can be pretty isolating
and can be over in a second. It's like, if you really think about it, it's so crazy what we do, and but it's so infectiously fun. So it's like, it's wild. So it's important that, for me as well, I don't feel the weight in a bad way, but I feel the weight of responsibility of like, I need to do my part
because I know they're doing theirs. You know, so
it's good to have a team that you feel like is pushing just as hard, if not harder, than you are.
100%.
Yeah. Everybody's got to stay on point, man.
That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that part of the conversation, I'm hearing some of your financial background as well in that.
Boring.
No, not even that. But I mean, it's interesting. Was it hard to leave that path behind to go into music? Was that a scary choice?
Yeah, very, because my life is, I like things to be like so structured, and like for me to put it into a different kind of light, it's like I love cooking, right? And for me, the best thing is like when I've like played a meal and it's done, I'm putting the last dish in the dishwasher. So it's like not only is the meal complete, but the kitchen is clean. It's
man, I relate strongly to that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my life as well. Everything has a place, everything, but it's like, but then you look at what I do and it's like, I'm walking on a tightrope. What are you, you know? So
no structure whatsoever. Yeah.
It's, so I guess that's where the team comes in and that ability to think, a bit more business wise, even though it's not something that this should ever be in my head. It's like, this is about emotion and just doing what you want to do. But you've also got to have that backing, I think, in your head of that. And it was very scary when I made the move to just do music. I'd finished this finance degree in Sydney at a university called UTS, and I got a job as like a fast track manager at a supermarket called Coles.
Okay, yeah.
And I had like this almost like movie-esque kind of like moment where I was packing the fridge in the supermarket. I think it was like yogurt or milk or something. And I closed the door and I saw the reflection of myself in there, and I'm like, this can be your life forever. And it's like, I know where this goes. I know the money that I'm going to make, and I just know the person. I know who I'm going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I can see that path. And I was like, I just want more. I want more, and I want to. You know, I'm lucky. I have the support of my wife and friends to just try it at least. And that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, man. And is that around the same time when you got Ableton and really started getting into the production side?
Yeah, well, I just started that, and I think I'd just written Permission to Love and things like that. So I hadn't even like really done anything, but I just knew that in my head, I just had a feeling that I could do it.
So was Permission to Love one of the first things you wrote? Like one of the first things you produced, period?
Yeah, it was definitely the one that it was just me. I'd written some stuff I'd been in another band. So I'm signed to a label called Future Classic.
Right.
And I was in a band called Cadillac, and we were kind of like indie pop, electro kind of stuff. And I played keys in that. It was me and another guy who wrote the music. And then we had a couple of session musicians that would perform with us live. And we signed a contract with Future Classic, and like 6 months into this like 3-year deal, this guy just didn't want to do it anymore. And I won't get into the specifics, but it just didn't want to do it. I'm like, well, this is a huge opportunity and I'm not going to waste this. So I started writing some music. About a month later, I sent it to Nathan and Chad at Future Classic, and they're like, we love this. Let's just release this under your own thing. You can just take the contract. I'm like, done. So that was kind of how that happened.
That's cool, man. That's I think another cool story of just being able to sort of roll with the punches and pivot when you need to, because otherwise it could have gone the other way, right?
Totally. The industry, as you said, it's like there are so many different types of people that work in this industry. So you got to watch yourself and understand that things can change and move under your feet very quickly.
Yeah.
But also just back yourself as well, I think.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be that confidence. And then I think, you mentioned Future Classic, which I only just now kind of put together. That must be another family for you as well, because
100%.
I mean, they're not just the home of you. There's been a lot of, well-known Australian artists that have come off of that label and stayed with that label, right? Like
that's right.
From an outsider, seems like a family. I don't know how it feels as an insider to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny because like growing up in that label musically, all I listened to were other people on that label. It was like a dream come true. It was like, holy shit, I'm a huge fan of all these people that I'm now kind of appear on this label with.
Right.
We're like the Flight Facilities guys, Flume, Taku, Touch Sensitive. There's a whole bunch, and it's a special family for sure. And having been there from the beginning of my career with them, it means a lot because they know where I'm going and where I want to be, and it's a good vibe too.
Yeah, man, that's great. And throughout all of this, so you put out something about you, and it blows up in this crazy way, and all of a sudden you're going all over the world and kind of on this different level. Did you learn anything in those years about how to balance your life and how to prioritize when things get busier, when things get more hectic, when you're more stressed out and people are asking more things of you? Did you learn anything in those years of sort of just how to better take care of yourself?
Not really. No.
Great answer.
Yeah. I was just honestly having too much fun. And my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, we were touring together the whole time. So Jen is an artist herself. Nice. She's a painter. So she basically could come and tour with me everywhere. So we would be able to play shows wherever, and then like extend it for a week, and we'll be there on holiday. And I'd do a bit of writing. Jen's done exhibitions around the world because we've been in a place for X amount of time. Just like, I can do this. So
that's great.
It's really been this mutually beneficial situation for us. But yeah, I think now I get it. I think now, being a bit older, having a kid, I know how to tour smarter. But now we can't tour.
Right. Yeah. It's just when you figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we do get back on the road, I'll be too excited. So I won't look after myself.
And, you'll go back to the bad habits.
Exactly. But no, it's honestly, it's just I've never really had an issue personally with drugs and alcohol and things like that, or, that taking over my life. I'm a pretty balanced person. So going into it, I just wanted to have fun, and it was just always going to be like that on tour. Because I think a tour as well, you work really hard, but it's also a celebration of you being in a space, writing this music, and then sharing it with people. So that's super fun. And like, I think a lot of people need to step back and go like, again, why are you doing this? And it's like, all these people came to see you, enjoy it, have fun. If you don't like it, you might be in the wrong business.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Once you did start going all over the world and spending time in different places, did that change your music? Did that change, playing shows on a bigger level, but also just traveling and seeing places and having new experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the places that I would play, we would tour in the summer as well. So it would always be that, beach kind of vibe where I live now anyway. So it was always kind of fun and exciting and outdoor. So there's that certain vibe for me. And then it was just the amount of artists that I was watching at these festivals that I'd never heard of before. And watching these crowds go nuts to music that I've never heard. And so, there was definitely a lot happening musically for me, just learning so much from all these artists. But it didn't change massively musically for me. I think the big thing would be when I'm on stage and performing and what I want from the crowd. So I think writing what I write and like a bit more chill song-based stuff sounds great and it's nice in a living room, but when you're out on stage, you need to bring it to life in different light. You know what I mean? You need to have a more energetic, dancey version of whatever it is. So I did learn that a lot, and that's kind of where I guess I'm going in the future with a second album is building it into something a bit more energetic and vibey.
That's great, man. Yeah. So are you, the music you're looking at now, you're looking at it in a second album context?
Yeah. So the releases this year are just going to be what they are. I'm a big fan of if you're an artist and you announce an album, I want all new music from you.
Oh yeah.
As your debut album, if it's part of the story and it makes sense, that's fine, and that's what I did too. With like 2 or 3 of the songs had been released before, and then the announcement of a single with the album. So that was that. But there's been quite a few artists that are like, "Hey, here's the album," and there's like half of the album is I've heard it before. So I'm a big fan of like announcing an album. Here's the first single, and you go from there. So I'm well into writing the second album. And, what better time to do it? So I'm just getting into it, and we'll be releasing it next year, and hopefully be able to tour it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know that's such a great use of your time, and it's cool that you're able to sort of take this time to evolve that. And I guess I'm wondering too, so much of your music, the actual lyrics, it's you talk about love and loss and relationships and that sort of thing. And I was thinking when I was coming to talk to you, do you think that will also change? Because that seems, it's a fixation. Like it's something you clearly think about a lot. But also your life has been changing, right? Like you just had a kid. Now we're in sort of this weird situation. How tied to it is it to your own life, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah. It's a huge tie to what I sing about and what I write about to my life. Relationships are the most important thing in my life. So that love and loss and yearning and all that's what Between Us is about. And the album is about like all those different emotions you come to fear and love as a human being. That hasn't changed and that never will. I guess. I don't know. It's just it kind of just comes out like, what does permission to love mean? And that's a very personal story for me. So there's lots of different things that like will happen that I'll write about. But yeah, it's always going to be about relationships for me. And I think it's really special because a lot of people will message me and go, "Oh, that song got me out of this tough time," or "I broke up with someone and that really made me feel something like this." Yeah. People can, make up their own minds about it and have their own meanings to the songs. So that's why, what does it mean to you? It's like, well, it's a personal thing. What does it mean to you? So I really like that people can take that kind of universal meaning of love or whatever it is and kind of put it into a very personal context.
I mean, and that's, I think, also part of good songwriting. I think that's one of the hardest things to do, right, is to take the personal and to turn it into the universal, right? Yeah. Is absolutely. That something you've figured out anything about over the years of how to take something very internal, very personal and make it relatable to a large number of people?
Yeah, I honestly don't think about it that way. I don't try and create something that's like, super personal and this, like the way that I phrase it, that's the big hook. Yeah. I just do it. Honestly, it's not something that I strategize. It's weird. I mean, when we're writing lyrics and melodies, a lot of the time I won't, like a lot of people do, they won't use words. They'll just blah, 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 blah. And the melody will just start to appear. But then the phrasing of the nonsense that you're singing will start to make sense. And then there'll be this subject that comes up. So there's definitely, I'm a big fan of it's off camera, but I've got a lot of journals and things that I just write, not like dreams and things, but I just write words or just songs that I listen to. I'm like, that word is really nice or whatever. So I've got a whole bunch of interesting phrases and stuff like that that I draw on for sure. Yeah. But it's not a strategic, this will be a big song.
No, I love that, man. I mean, that's almost like a sample pack for ideas. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's my own little lyrical splice. Yeah.
I love that, man. Yeah. And I mean, and that's another part of it too, right? Is that you are a very collaborative artist. At this point, it seems like you must really enjoy working with other vocalists and with other people to sort of create a shared thing too, right? So that's part of it is, definitely, how does somebody else perceive my idea?
That's right. And it was, it took me a while to realize that to kind of open up a bit. I was very protective of my ideas. One, in my head, I guess, because someone's going to hear it and steal it kind of thing. That's like that original, but it's like, but once you kind of get over that and understand that the more you share, for me at least, the more I get out of something, because and again, it's like, don't look at music as a business side of thing. Like, get the best song out there. And that's not my job, is to, worry about the cuts and the percentages. Like, I don't care. I just want the best music out there and lots of it. And then everyone's going to be taken care of, because this is going to be a better song. So the more people, not the more people involved, but the right people involved at the right times is crucial.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, man. And that's maybe leads me to the last thing we haven't talked about yet, which is the Waves of Gold compilation mix that you put out a few months back, which is, it's even another step further. It's not even you working with everybody. It's just a lot of it just you showcasing other people's work. And I was kind of curious, why put this out now, and sort of what was the idea behind, just doing a compilation when it's, because I think the normal move would be like, oh, I started my own label and here's the first compilation of, the artists I've found, but this is a little different.
Yeah, I don't want that headache. So it was basically just a different way of introducing a song. I think as well, in this time, I want to give people as much as possible. So just another single with a remix pack is great, but like having this become part of a little journey. Like for me, I've just started, like in COVID, I've just started running. I'm like, well, what am I listening to? So this is how the compilation kind of came about. It's like, I'm listening to a lot of people that I've never listened to before, young kids, like a lot from the UK, a lot from labels I'd never heard of before. It was just super interesting to me. So that's why I just wanted to showcase just new talent, and people and friends as well. There's a bunch of records like Cassie and Gorgon City on there that I love, that also kind of tied into the single as well. I just think it's a really, not unique, but just a cool, interesting way to showcase a new song that I think as well kind of takes the pressure off a little bit of like, here's the standalone single. It's like, here's a group of music that is supposed to be listened to together. Enjoy it,
Yeah, and I love that, man, because that I think goes back to that family thing we were talking about, and goes back to the idea of surrounding yourself with good people, where it's you're not just saying, hey, look at me.
It's that collaborative thing, and that collection of artists, that everyone on that list, that's part of the collaboration and part of that mix, personally hit me up, said, dude, thank you so much for putting me on the record, on the compilation. And that's the whole idea. That's what we're all doing this together. It's like, it's not a competition when you stop looking at it like that. And it's like, we all make music, and you can be a fan of it or not a fan of it, but we're doing this together. So
I completely agree, man. It's interesting to hear you say that, because I think on the other hand, you and I both know artists who really do look at it as a competition, and that's sort of what fuels them in a lot of ways. And I don't mean that as a negative necessarily, but I think this kind of industry does attract a super competitive type, where the reason they end up being as good as they are is because they're trying to outdo somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that you'd find more people that, like, as a percentage, the people who go out there and treat it like that, more people would be in a position where they're not happy and releasing music they don't even like, than to people who actually use it as a fuel to change, like a positive change for their career. I mean, you're right in that, like, it's all like the ticket sales, the streams, all the numbers, all the likes, all the comments, like it's so funny, because it's kind of what is like drives the artist, the industry, how you're booked, how much money you're worth.
Of course.
But it's not at all why we write music, but it's what governs it. It's a weird thing,
it's so fake and disconnected, man. It's such a bizarre thing.
And so it is hard, and if you do get wrapped up in that's the thing as well. I always like, I second guess, oh, is this going to be good for Instagram? It's like, honestly, who gives a shit? Like, at the end of the day, go out there and live your life. And like, I don't know, I haven't figured it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, nor have I. And we talked a little about this already, but what is it that keeps you here? Like, what's the fun part? What's the part that keeps pushing you to, make more music and to want to keep doing this?
Yeah, good question. It's literally the moment you're in here and there's a top line and you've written something and the chord and you play something and you go, holy shit. And there's just like, I've never had a feeling like that in my life. It's like, that is why I do what I do.
That's beautiful, man. That's, that almost makes me think of spirituality, right? Because that's those moments where just something happens and it's usually not something that you consciously made a decision to do, right?
Totally right. If you try and you push too far, it won't be the same as if you're just naturally just like flowing with something. And it might be something that's like, oh, that shouldn't work. But usually they're the things that are the biggest.
Are you a spiritual person in general? Where do you land on that spectrum?
Yeah, not particularly. I don't go to church or anything like that. But I don't know. I think we're very lucky that we're here. I think that I put it that way, of just like the fact that we even have conscious thought is just mind blowing, to be honest. Use it and enjoy it and be kind to people, because we're not really supposed to be here and be doing this. So
right. Just being human, you sort of won the lottery. Yeah,
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that, man. And yeah, I think I'm the same as you. I'm very not religious and I'm not particularly spiritual, but doing this kind of stuff, I think is, people on the show have heard me say this a million times, but that is my spirituality. And it's sort of the only thing that makes me interested in exploring the more hippie side of all of that, right? Because there is, what I'm chasing is not something I can really describe.
Yep, exactly right. But it's fun to think about that. There's a friend who's a co-writer on a bunch of the music that I've written for the record, Nat Dunn, who's part of Nations. And she always says, protect your peace, which I really like. So it's like, make sure that you've got time for you. It's like a self-care, I guess, but it's like, make sure that you have that time in the day, the week, the month, whatever it is, where it's like you just make time for you.
Absolutely. And that's, if you do that, I think that's the only way to set yourself up to be doing well creatively, right?
Exactly. You need to have a positive, like the right frame of mind to be able to be doing something like this. Because that's it. It's like, if you're looking at the numbers, the ticket sales, all this stuff, you're already off the game in your head. So it's like hard to be in a place where you're excited about writing music. So
100%. Yeah. And I get, it's always so funny to me, those really shitty interview questions of like, where do you get your ideas? Or like, how are you influenced to write a song? And it's never, there's no answer to that, because the real answer is what we're just talking about. It's, you give yourself space to have those ideas by taking care of yourself earlier, right?
Exactly right. And that's the hard thing. I think it takes time to learn who you are as a person and what triggers you and what kind of state of mind things put you in. So for instance, for me as well, it's like, if I get up and just look at my emails, I'll probably be stressed straight away. Not that there's a stressful thing in there, but it's like, oh, there's a bunch of emails, or like, I've got to get back to this person, or there's some like interview questions I've got to do before I even get into the studio and write any music. So it's like, a lot of the time you'll find like a day is taken up by admin where you're like, I just wanted to sit and write. So
right. And man, picking up your phone at the first thing in the morning, oh man, that is so dangerous.
I've been lucky the last couple of days. I actually broke my phone and I've just it's being repaired, and I've got a new phone with no numbers, no Instagram, no nothing. and it's been awesome. It's been great.
That sounds, fantastic.
It's like having an old shitty phone that doesn't have the internet. It's literally just for calls. And it feels really good because people are like, oh, did you see that? I'm like, no, I didn't. Tell me about it. Like, I haven't been like this the whole time. So it's been really nice.
That's great, man. I mean, do you feel like you do all right with social media? You have a healthy enough relationship with it at this point?
Yeah, for sure. I think I can, maybe like a year ago, I just like found myself like scrolling through stories or something. I'm like, this isn't relaxing my brain. Like, I just want to sit and like watch a show or just like read a book or something. Because looking at all this content, like my brain is just going 1,000 miles an hour trying to process this. So I realized that a while ago, it's just like, get off it and leave it. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that for sure.
Me too, man. Because all it does is it generates more FOMO, right? And it just tricks you into thinking you have to check it more and more to make sure you don't miss out on anything.
You will have a perfectly happy, healthy life without Instagram.
Oh, much happier, actually.
Yeah. So that's you're right. It's the FOMO. It's that missing out of like, oh, did someone see this or do people like this? It's like, when you realize that it doesn't really matter, you'll be a happier person for it.
It's a literal addiction, man. And it's the same as like getting addicted to sugar or to, just drugs in general. Like once you go through a withdrawal, you feel bad about it, and then your body equalizes and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't actually need that.
Totally. Yeah.
I love that, man. This has been awesome, man. This is super fun. I don't want to take up all your whole day because it's so weird. It's like the end of my day and the beginning of yours. Is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything else that's on your mind? Anything else you want to let people know before we get out of here?
No, we've covered quite a lot. It's been good. It's weird because I love these style of interviews. So thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you, man. I love it too.
I love a conversation where it's like you've been asking me all the questions, and I know that this is what that is about. But it's weird not reciprocating and asking new things.
Well, we can do part 2 sometime. We'll do.
That's right. I'll take over the show. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
but no, it's been good. I just excited to release some more music. I'm doing some new stuff, and hopefully people love it. It's going to be lots more kind of dancey and energetic, and but still Hayden James. So there you go.
That's great, man. I'm stoked to hear it. I'm just going to ask you one last question. It's the same question I ask at the end of each one of these interviews. Kind of just a first thing that pops into your head kind of question. No, it's easy, I promise. Just looking for a memory, a time in your life, could be from any time, when in a single moment, music really had a deep impact on you, really meant something to you in that moment. And it's kind of just the first thing that pops into your head.
Yeah, I've already got it. It was when I realized that I loved dance music, electronic music, just something that was like, what is this? My brother brought home Around the World by Daft Punk on CD single. It had a club version. I think it was like 8 minutes, 6 seconds, or 7 minutes and 8 seconds, something like that. Like it's that ingrained in my brain. And I listened to the whole thing, and just the melodies of it, I'm like back in that room listening to that song, and that changed the way that I look at music for sure. I think it was like the harmonies and the melodies, but specifically the harmonies. I realized that harmony is kind of like, this might sound a bit weird, but it's like almost the key to the soul.
Right.
When you hear something that harmonizes beautifully, like in any different way, it just, I don't know, it just speaks to me.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I listened to a lot of like, my parents would listen to a lot of like Bee Gees and like Beach Boys and things like that are very melodic, very harmony driven. And so when I listened to that record of Daft Punk's, it just changed something.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. And you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously harmony is like one of the building blocks of music, but to hear it in that context, you're absolutely right. Especially if that's the first time you're hearing it in that context from, obviously someone who's very good at music, i.e. Daft Punk, that would absolutely be a mind-blowing moment. You actually just made me think about when I was a kid, I listened to a lot of metal and a lot of punk music.
Yep.
And still to this day, one of my favorite bands is Bad Religion, who use a crazy, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're all about like, 5-part harmony. It's like everybody in the band is singing while playing instruments.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing, man. Hearing that in that context was something I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. It really is.
Exactly. I think that's a good question because everyone has that moment. And have you ever had an artist come on that's like, that couldn't just basically go like, that was it?
Yeah, some people do come on because the thing is people interpret the question differently, and
totally, yeah.
For some people it's more like, oh, I got broken up with and this was the song I listened to during that time.
And that's the great thing about human beings is like it's everything, especially music, is subjective. It's like it's up to you. You can like it or not. That's the funny thing, which I was talking about at the start of the interview, is like we spend so much time writing and pouring our hearts out in this thing, and then someone can go, I don't like it.
Right.
Tough stuff.
Yeah. Hey man, that's the ego check right there for you.
That's it.
But it still means something to you, right? And that's at the end of the day what we all have to keep chasing.
True.
Well, I love that, man. This has been super fun. Thank you for taking the time to do it.
Mate, of course. Thank you so much.
Stay safe out there, man. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that's the show. Shout out to Hayden James. Great to have you on, man. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, Hayden James has a lot going on. He's got new music coming up very soon. You don't want to miss it. You also got to grab his new track, Waves of Gold, and the compilation mix he put out around it. All of that is going to be in the link in the description of this episode. You can also follow me at Willy Joy, at BackToBackPod, WillyJoy.com, or if you want to connect with me directly, backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address. I'd also love for you to come join the Back to Back Discord, my server, my chat. I'm in there every single day, and I would love to add you to our amazing community. We've got some really talented people in there. If you're a music producer, there's a space where you can share what you're working on, get some feedback, get involved with a community of creative people. If you're not a music producer, that's great too. We really need you in here to come tell us what you're listening to, how your week is going. It's just a great place to check in. Sometimes I just like to pop in, say hi, see what people are up to, man. It feels good to be connected. Come connect with us there. That's it for this week. I'm in a good mood. I hope you are as well. I hope your life is going well. I hope whatever you're working on, I hope you feel like you're making some progress. I hope, you might not be there yet. You might not even be close, but I hope you're, seeing the pieces come together. I hope you're visualizing the steps you got to take to make whatever it is happen, because we're all trying to get somewhere. I'm rooting for you. I'm thinking about you guys. I love you all. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.